mescaline has a huge sort of panoramic time span, going from the pre-Hispanic America, right, through to the 21st century. It's a substance with two histories, really, a Western one and a non-Western or indigenous one. From the very beginning of this Western history, there's a kind of protocol that's established that we all recognize. 10:30 a.m. at 3 buttons of peyote dissolved in water. 11:15 a.m. started to notice slight violet and green hues around the white notepad that I'm writing on. It's kind of a very forensic approach, and it's about separating out as cleanly as possible the effects of the drug from normal consciousness. It was fascinating turning then to non-Western and indigenous traditions, and where one looks in vain for anything like this. The indigenous, the non-Western history is very much, it's the history of a culture and it's the history of a people, whereas the Western history is essentially the history of a kind of concatenation of individuals.
I think psychedelics sort of point to a really interesting juncture point or friction between science and religion that we're sort of always kind of stumbling our way into.
The medical understanding and the spiritual understanding are both kind of modes of Western understanding. And I think, they're going to be in tension, as you would say, or maybe in dialogue in the future in all kinds of ways. So is it that psychedelics are intrinsically a medicine and, a spiritual experience? Or is it, as I think, more likely that actually if you're trying to sell psychedelics to an uninitiated, and possibly hostile white majority, then those are the two ways you go in. First of all, you talk about its medical utility, and second, you talk about its spiritual value, because those are two things that are validated by the dominant culture.
Is there a way that you see that sort of these two approaches, science and religion, science and spirituality, can be reconciled?
Yes, I think they'll continue to be, we might see it as being in tension, or we might say it as being in dialogue. But I think those two languages, I think Sasha Shulgin is a great example, and he was very explicit about this, that, drug discovery, there are two parts of it. One part is the synthesis of the chemical, but then you've just got a white powder and you really have no idea. There's no way of just looking at the molecular structure and saying this is going to be psychoactive, let alone what it's going to do. So he also wrote his subjective extensions and commentary. We have these two languages which are mutually unintelligible. They don't inform one another at all, but you have to put the two of them together in order to have the whole picture. And I think something analogous is probably true of religion and science. They're not looking for meaning in the same places. They're not following the same protocols. They're not trying to achieve the same results, but they both hit their limits in different ways, and in ways in which the other one can then be adduced to kind of fill in a bigger picture. So I don't see a grand synthesis of religion and science emerging from this, but I do see psychedelics maybe bringing them together in ways that they haven't been brought together before, and I do see that as being sort of potentially, very productive.